Imagine this. You're already breaking apart inside, your marriage is ending, and instead of healing, the system bleeds you dry the more. $10,000. That's the average cost of a divorce with lawyers in the US right now. But here's the secret nobody's telling you, there's a way out. A hidden path where you could save 10 grand or more, and you don't even need a lawyer. But is it real? Or just another trap? Today, we're going to uncover it. This is not some B.S. video. This is real-life actionable moves and ways you can save $10,000 bills in the name of divorce expenses. Don't watch this video if you're not going to stick to the very end of it all, because clearly it is not for you. But if you want to know how to get your divorce done without a lawyer, and save that $10,000 unnecessary, stick till the very end. Let's start with David. Not his real name, but his story is painfully real. David's 42. Lives in Ohio. 2 kids. Works construction. And 3 months ago, his wife, Jenna, told him it was over. No screaming. No broken dishes. Just this hollow silence across the dinner table. At first, David thought the hardest part would be telling the kids. Or sleeping alone after 15 years of sharing a bed. But he was wrong. The real nightmare began when the lawyers showed up. David went in thinking he could just get this done. Maybe a few thousand, paperwork, signatures, and he could move on. But then the bills started coming in. $250 an hour. Then $400. Each phone call? $150. Even a 5-minute email cost him $75. And by the second month, he was already down $8,000. He wasn't fighting custody. He wasn't hiding assets. All he wanted was to end it, clean. But it felt like the system was rigged to drain him dry. And then, one night, scrolling Reddit of all places, David stumbled across a post titled, "Got Divorced Without a Lawyer. Saved $12,000. Ask me anything." At first, he thought scam. No way. But the deeper he read, the more it sounded possible. Here's the thing. The divorce industry in the US is a $50 billion machine. 50 billion. Every year. And lawyers? They feed on confusion. The less you know, the more they charge. Think about it. If divorce really required an attorney every single time, how could so many couples split up quietly without one? Why do we keep hearing these stories? People who walked away with their money intact. The truth is, lawyers want you to think you're helpless. Because helpless clients write bigger checks. And David was starting to wonder, had he been tricked into paying for fear? Here's the stat that cracked David's brain open. In 2024, nearly 45% of divorces in the US were filed without lawyers. 45%. That's almost half the people walking away from marriages saying, "No thanks. I'll handle this myself." So why don't we hear about them? Because there's no profit in telling you the easy way. So what did David actually find? What's this so-called hidden way? Turns out, in almost every US state, there's something called pro se divorce. Latin for on one's own behalf. It means you represent yourself. No lawyer. Now, that doesn't mean it's easy. The paperwork can be dense. The legal terms feel like a foreign language. But if your divorce is uncontested, meaning you and your spouse agree on things like custody and property, it's shockingly doable. David discovered online portals run by the courts themselves. Step-by-step instructions. Printable forms. Even walk-in help centers where clerks explain, for free, how to file. And get this, the filing fees in his county? $350. That's it. Not $10,000. Not $20,000. Just $350. Now compare that to what David had already spent, $8,000, and you can see why he felt sick. Like he'd been tricked into burning cash he didn't need to spend. But here's where it gets tricky, because not everyone qualifies. And David almost missed the one detail that could have cost him everything. Pro se divorce sounds amazing, right? But there are trapdoors. And David almost fell through one. See, if you and your spouse don't agree on something, custody, debts, even who gets the dog, then Pro-Se gets messy fast. Judges don't play mediator. They expect solutions. No agreement? You're back to lawyers. David thought he was good. But then Jenna pushed back on one thing: Christmas custody. She wanted it every year. He wanted to alternate. It seemed small. Just one holiday. But that's the kind of clause that can turn into an all-out legal war. And here's the kicker: lawyers love these fights. Because custody battles are where the bills explode. Some parents spend over $50,000 fighting for one holiday. David realized, if he let this one issue drag him into court, he'd be trapped in the very game he was trying to escape. So what did he do? He compromised. He told Jenna she could have Christmas Eve every year, but he wanted Christmas morning on alternating years. She agreed. It wasn't perfect, but it was survival. Because one holiday wasn't worth losing his financial future. Here's the big question: if Pro-Se divorce is legal, cheaper, and already used by nearly half of people, why doesn't anyone tell you up front? The answer: money. Lawyers profit when you panic. When you think the system is too confusing for you. And let's be honest, the courts don't go out of their way to make things simple either. A messy system means steady income for those who know how to navigate it. But David's story proves something powerful. The hidden way exists. It's legal. And if you can keep your divorce uncontested, it's $10,000 cheaper. Alright, let's break it down. If you're watching this and wondering how the hell you can save that money, here are the steps David followed. Write these down. Step 1. Check if your divorce qualifies. If you and your spouse agree on custody, assets, and debts, you qualify. If not, you'll need mediation first. Step 2. Download the forms. Go to your county court's website. Look for self-help divorce forms. Most states now post them online. Step 3. Fill them out carefully. It'll feel overwhelming, but there are guides, even free clinics, that walk you through line by line. Step 4. File at the courthouse. Yes, you have to show up. Pay the fee, usually between $200 to $400. Step 5. Serve your spouse. This can be awkward, but it's mandatory. You can hire a server for under $100, or sometimes a sheriff will do it. Step 6. Final hearing. Show up. Be polite. Answer the judge's questions. And if everything's in order, you walk out divorced, for a fraction of the price. For David? The final bill was $462. After already wasting $8,000 on lawyers, it almost hurt to say that number out loud. But it was also freedom. And now, his kids split Christmas fairly, his savings are intact, and he didn't have to feed the $50 billion industry another dime. David's story isn't rare. It's just hidden. And if you're sitting there right now, staring at a failing marriage and a terrifying price tag, you need to know, you're not powerless. Divorce is brutal enough emotionally. It doesn't have to bankrupt you too. So, what do you think? Would you ever try a divorce without a lawyer? Or does the thought of going it alone scare you? Drop your story in the comments. Someone out there right now is feeling alone, and your words might give them courage. And if this video helped you see a path forward, hit subscribe, because we're exposing more hidden truths the industry doesn't want you to know. Share this with anyone who's stuck in the system right now. It could literally save them 10 grand. Saving money doesn't mean the process is painless. For David, the hardest part wasn't the paperwork, or the courthouse visits, or even the awkward moment of handing Jenna the divorce papers himself. It was the silence. Because here's the truth nobody tells you: lawyers, for all their cost, act like emotional buffers. They send the angry emails, they draw the battle lines, they take the heat. When you do this alone, you face your ex directly. Every form, every signature, every tense conversation. David described it like being punched in the gut twice. First, losing the marriage. Then, having to stare at that loss across the table while filling out forms. And the emotional toll nearly broke him. There was a night he almost called his lawyer back, ready to hand over the credit card again just to make the pain disappear. But then he remembered the $8,000 hole in his bank account, and he held the line. And maybe that's the paradox of this hidden way. It costs less money, but it costs more courage. And David wasn't alone. Once he started digging, he realized thousands of people had walked this same path. One Reddit post reads, "Filed Pro SE last year. Cost me $402 total. My ex and I agreed on everything. Took 3 months. Honestly, the forms were a pain, but I kept telling myself, every page is $200 I'm not paying to a lawyer." Or this one from X, just last month. Lawyers quoted me $15K. Went to the courthouse website. Found the forms myself. Judge signed off in 45 days. Literally the easiest $15,000 I've ever saved. But not every story was smooth. One user wrote, "Tried Pro SEX wouldn't budge on custody. Judge wouldn't finalize. Ended up hiring a lawyer anyway. Cost me $30K in the end. Wish I'd known mediation was an option first." That last line? That's key. Because Pro SE only works if your ex is on board. If not, you're not stuck, you just need another tool. So let's talk mediation. Think of mediation like a halfway point between full-blown lawyer warfare and DIY divorce. You and your spouse sit down with a neutral third party, a mediator. They don't take sides. They don't make decisions. They just help you talk it out and write down the agreements. And the cost? Way lower. National average, about $3,000 total. Compare that to $15,000 to $30,000 in lawyer fees. Here's how it connects. Many people use mediation first to settle disputes, then file Pro SE with the agreements already in place. It's like doing the emotional heavy lifting in a controlled space, and then saving thousands by skipping the lawyers for the paperwork phase. Mediation equals $3,000 average. Lawyers equals $15,000 plus. Pros say plus mediation equals $3,500 total. David didn't need mediation. But reading stories online, he realized that for couples who can't agree, it's the smartest safety net. Because the hidden way isn't about pride. It's about strategy. If mediation keeps you out of lawyer crossfire, it's worth every cent. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Every state plays by different rules. And sometimes these quirks can save, or cost, you money. Take California. Their filing fees? Around $435. But they also offer fee waivers if your income is below a certain level. Meaning some people walk out paying nothing. Texas? They require a 60-day waiting period after filing before the divorce is finalized. So if you're in Texas, Pro SE takes patience. New York? You can file Pro SE online through their e-filing system. But the catch is, they don't give much guidance, so you might need to lean on legal aid websites for help. Florida? They actually encourage Pro SE divorces through something called a simplified dissolution of marriage. It's practically designed to cut lawyers out. Filing fee, about $410. And Ohio, where David lives. Filing fees range county to county, but many hover around $350. Which is why David's story is so relatable. The point is, your state has its own set of rules. And knowing them is half the battle. Which brings us to another trapdoor. Some states love to bury their self-help sections deep in government websites, practically invisible. Why? Ask yourself, who benefits when people stay confused? There's another layer to this story that doesn't get enough light. Because while big firms profit off your panic, there are hidden players fighting quietly on your side. Legal aid organizations, nonprofits, even courthouse clerks who risk stepping just shy of giving legal advice to help people like you figure it out. David told me about one clerk who leaned in after stamping his form and whispered, "If you mess this section up, the judge will reject it. Make sure you add your kids' birthdays on page 3. It was a 5-second tip that saved him weeks of delay. And it made him realize, there are people inside the system who want you to win. You just have to know where to look. Imagine if more people shared those hidden helpers. How much less fear? How much less money would we waste? Alright. If you're serious about trying this path, here are 7 rules to bulletproof your divorce without a lawyer. Rule number 1. Write it down. Don't trust verbal agreements. Put everything in writing, from holidays to pet custody. Rule number 2. Think long term. Today's small issue, like who pays for braces, becomes tomorrow's $20,000 fight. Cover it now. Rule number 3. Use neutral language. Judges don't want to read drama. Write agreements like contracts, clear, boring, and to the point. Rule number 4. Triple check the forms. One missing date or unchecked box can send you back to square one. Rule number 5. Use legal aid clinics. Most states have free workshops where lawyers volunteer to guide you. Take advantage. Rule number 6. Don't weaponize the kids. Judges hate it. Even hinting at manipulation can sink your case. Rule number 7. Stay civil. Every fight costs money. If your ex throws sparks, don't throw gasoline. Walk away, breathe, and come back later. Follow those 7, and you've already dodged 90% of the traps that suck people into debt. At the end of the day, this isn't just about saving money. It's about dignity. About taking control back from a system designed to keep you afraid. Divorce is already one of the most painful things a person can go through. Why should it also be one of the most expensive? David's story isn't just about forms and fees. It's about survival. About staring down fear and realizing you can handle more than you thought. And if you're listening right now, maybe you needed to hear that. That you don't have to let the system decide your future. Or your bank account. Now before we wrap up, there's one more twist you need to know. Because right when David thought he'd figured out the game, he almost fell for another trap. Online divorce companies. You've probably seen the ads. Get divorced in 24 hours for just $299. Clean websites, happy stock photo couples, glowing testimonial. But here's what David found when he dug deeper. Most of these services don't actually file anything for you. They just generate the same forms you can download for free from your county court website. And worse, some lock you in with hidden subscription fees, monthly charges to maintain your account long after your divorce is done. One Reddit user wrote, "Paid $399 for an online divorce package. Still had to file in person. The forms they gave me were outdated. Judge rejected them. Ended up hiring a lawyer anyway. Total cost, $8,500. Wish I'd just gone to the courthouse first." That's the scam. They prey on the same fear lawyers do. They whisper, "It's too confusing for you. Pay us, we'll make it easy." But if you're already brave enough to skip the lawyers, don't let a shiny website pick your pocket on the way out. The forms are public. The process is real. Don't buy back what's already free. So after all of this, here's the question I promised from the start. Who's really profiting? Is it the lawyers? Sure. They bill $300 an hour and drive home in German cars. Is it the online companies? Definitely. They trick you into buying recycled PDFs. But the real winner? The system itself. Because every complicated rule, every vague instruction, every hidden fee, keeps ordinary people afraid. And fear is profitable. Fear makes you hire lawyers. Fear makes you click the $299 website. Fear keeps the $50 billion divorce industry alive. And maybe that's the most painful part of David's story. It's not just about money, it's about being told he wasn't smart enough, strong enough, or capable enough to handle his own life. But here's the truth the industry doesn't want you to hear: you are. And when people realize that, when more Davids walk into a courthouse with their own paperwork and walk out free, this machine loses power. The industry profits from silence. Which is why sharing stories like David's is dangerous and necessary. Here's the part no one tells you after divorce: it's not the end. David was terrified that he'd walk out broke, bitter, and lost. And for a while, he was. But because he found the hidden way, because he didn't sink into debt, he was able to start over. He took the money he saved and put down a deposit on a small 2-bedroom. He bought his kids bunk beds. He opened a savings account for the first time in years. And when Christmas came around, he picked up his kids' Christmas morning, just like he fought for, and realized he had made it through. Not perfectly. Not without scars. But without chains. And that's what this whole story is about. Divorce will hurt. But it doesn't have to ruin you. And you don't need to feed a billion-dollar machine just to survive. So now I want to hear from you. Would you ever file for divorce without a lawyer? Do you think you could face your ex across the table and make it work? Or does that sound impossible right now? Drop your story in the comments. Even if it's just one line, because there's someone out there reading who feels totally alone, and your words might be the lifeline they need. And if you've already been through divorce, tell us what you wish you knew before you started. Share your lessons. Because together, we can outsmart this machine. If this video opened your eyes, subscribe. We're exposing more hidden truths about custody battles, money traps, and the ways the system exploits families. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's next. Oh, and hit that share button. Not for me, for the friend you know is stuck right now. Because one share could literally save them $10,000. David isn't a hero. He's just a dad who refused to give up. But his story proves something most people never hear. You don't need permission to save yourself. The hidden way is real. And maybe it's not perfect. Maybe it takes more courage, more patience, more grit. But it's yours. So if you're standing where David once stood, afraid, broke, uncertain, remember this: you don't have to hand over your future to a stranger in a suit. You can walk into that courthouse yourself. You can walk out free. And you can start again, $10,000 richer, and a hell of a lot stronger.